that moment, the wind picked back up, dropping a few dozen more acorns in a new assault. All he could do was duck and cover his body the best he could, with both arms over his head, returning to the ground in a fetal position. When he thought it safe to sit up finally, he carefully peeked out before actually taking the risk. He sat there speechless, nursing his wounds, and more than a bit embarrassed that he'd taken it all so personally, had almost cried. Yet he continued to wrestle emotionally. On the one hand, there was the obvious random nature to nature itself, of which he felt foolish to feel had orchestrated such a well-timed attack, scoring so many decisive strikes. On the other hand, these trees were alive in the most obvious sense. Now, as he contemplated past the logic, or what he knew to be logic, he was aware of superstition for the first time in his life. He watched the leaves around him resume their dancing with an entirely new perspective. But his ordeal had left him passive, and so he just stared off without blinking, seeing everything at once and as a whole. The rush of the wind and the dull roar in the trees rose and fell in concert, mixing with the creak as everything moved together in unison. By focusing his eyes nowhere particularly, there was somehow more detail. He observed that darting his eyes about to catch everything at once was far less effective, so he sat still, even as a few more nuts came down. But his surroundings drew in around him and hummed as one suddenly. Then came the sensation that he'd been gone, or wasn't really sitting there at all. That scared him, and he snapped from the trance a bit relieved, but also a little disappointed. He was, for the moment, reluctant to go there again, but he knew he would sometime, and now he knew that he could.